My next guest is a pianist and conductor who has led orchestras and operas everywhere from Florida to Texas to Aspen and has directed Opera Omaha. He is also a featured guest in a show running May 8th through June 8th at the BlueBarn Theatre in Omaha. Hal France, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jenna.
Nice to have you. Now, the show that you're playing in is called 33 Variations. Can you tell us about the writer of the show?
Moises Kaufmann, wonderful Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright who wrote a wonderful play that opened around 2007. It later featured Jane Fonda on Broadway. And it's a play about a variety of things. It's got two protagonists. It's in two time periods, 200 years apart. And one of its themes is creativity, and specifically the creativity of Ludwig van Beethoven and his creative process. His life during a time period of about 4 years, and paralleled with a time period in the current time of a woman who's a musicologist who's trying to determine the answer to a big question she has about one of his compositions, the Diabelli Variations, an intriguing composition, and it gets into all kinds of themes about life, transience, health, fulfillment, and her life is paralleled in some ways with Beethoven's, and it's really beautifully woven and beautifully researched from a musician's point of view. It's done with a great amount of integrity.
So is your role as a musician, or is the music really sort of a character in the show?
I like to think of the music as a character. It's certainly one of the subjects of the play, not the only one, but one of them. And I play about 50 excerpts from the Diabelli, which are one of the longest set of variations ever composed, 33 variations on a theme of a waltz that was originally a marketing scheme by a publisher trying to get composers interested in his publishing, but eventually became an obsession of Beethoven, who was only supposed to write one, and instead made it a work that spanned 1819 to 1823, and eventually he wrote one more than the previous, probably greatest set of variations with the Bach Goldbergs, which are 32.
And so who are some of the other cast members in the show?
Well, the two time periods. So Beethoven is one of the protagonists, and Catherine Brandt, the musicologist in the present, is a protagonist, and each of them have a circle of friends. Beethoven is surrounded by his assistant Anton Schindler of that time period, and Diabelli himself, the publisher. And then Catherine has her daughter and a nurse who becomes her daughter's boyfriend, and a archivist from Bonn, where half the story takes place in the Beethoven house, where the archives were, and where the Wittgenstein sketchbook, which contains the sketches of the Diabelli and the Missa Solemnis, which was a work that paralleled it, are in that sketchbook. And that sketchbook is part of the show, and we see sketches from it continually in the production.
So what do we see visually to tell us that we're going back and forth between modern day, between the modern
very clever. The set kind of primarily is the archive down in the Beethoven house, but it kind of is very cleverly worked so that it's also Beethoven's house. It's also Catherine Brandt in the hospital because she has ALS, and Beethoven was also very ill during this time period. So that's another parallel story that goes on about the whole issues of what these kinds of things do. And of course, his own deafness is a big part of it. So all the things that we know about Beethoven are part of this story.
And then this is sort of wrapping up this 25th season at the BlueBarn, is that right?
Yes. And I heard Susan Clement-Tolborough, who's the artistic director of the BlueBarn, say that this was the first play that she wanted to have on this season. And she's wanted to do it for some time.
Is she the director, or?
She's also directing, and a marvelous director. And we have a fantastic cast. Nils Holland is playing Beethoven, and he's a great instinctive actor. And Ruth Rath is Catherine Catherine Brandt, and she also is a musician, so she knows a lot. And we have Paul Bozing, who's a composer who plays Diabelli. So, so many good people, really a wonderful group.
A really cross-section between theater and music.
Yes, and that's really what the play is all about. It's a wonderful play about music.
It's titled 33 Variations. The show runs Thursday through Sundays from May 8th through June 8th. I've been speaking with Hal France, the featured pianist in the show, showing at the BlueBarn Theatre. Hal, thank you so much for telling us about the show.
Thank you.